Two worlds, one you can see, and one that sees you. The supernatural realm is real, it's close, and sometimes it crosses over. When it does, nothing is ever the same. America's Lady of Supernatural Thrillers, Marianne Paul, is here to take you straight into the shadows. This is Real Ghost Chatter. True tales from the other side. Let's begin.
I'm Marianne Paul, America's Lady of Supernatural Thrillers. On this episode, we're staying in Texas, San Antonio, to be specific. And I have a personal connection to this city that I'll share with you in a moment. That personal knowledge changes the way this story sits with me. The place at the center of tonight's episode is called the Donkey Lady Bridge. And the figure people have encountered there for generations is unlike anything else I've come across in Texas folklore. In the early 1970s, I lived in San Antonio during my high school years. What I remember most, other than being a rather wild teenager, is the Riverwalk. Back then, the Riverwalk was not the polished, tourist-friendly stretch of restaurants and hotels it is today. It was honestly a little sketchy. You did not go down there alone. In fact, most locals at the time knew to stay away, especially at night. One Christmas, my high school choir was invited to carol on it. I was allowed to go, since I would not be alone or unsupervised. After the caroling, I remember being alone for a few minutes while I waited for my ride. I was standing there near the Alamo. I still remember being genuinely nervous. My eyes were on every shadow because I wasn't sure who might be around. I didn't know the South Side well. That wasn't my part of the city. But I know the feel of San Antonio, the weight of it, the way centuries of history press up through the surface of the modern streets. It is not a city that forgets what happened on its ground. And something happened on a creek called Elm on the South Side that San Antonio has not forgotten. The bridge is officially called the Old Applewhite Bridge, built in 1917. Closed to vehicle traffic in 2005 when a newer bridge opened nearby. Today, it's part of the Madonna River section of the Howard W. Peak Greenway Trail System, which encompasses 14 miles of walking and cycling paths. A lovely excursion for a weekend afternoon, but gated off to nighttime visitors. The Old Applewhite Bridge is the official title, but the locals know it as the Donkey Lady Bridge. They have called it that for as long as anyone can remember, and no amount of official city signage has changed that. The name belongs to the Donkey Lady, not to the 1917 construction record. The truth is, nobody agrees on when this story starts. Some accounts place it as far back as the mid-1800s. Others say the 1950s. The city's records don't settle it. Community memory doesn't either. What has remained consistent across every version and every decade of the legend is the woman, and what was done to her. What we do know is this. Whatever happened to her happened near the Dolores Applewhite Crossing, one of the oldest roads in North America, used by travelers for centuries before a bridge ever stood there. In 1917, the concrete bridge went up at that same crossing. And whatever had been living in that stretch of Elm Creek simply stayed. The most popular version goes like this. A farming family lived near Elm Creek, a husband, his wife, and 2 small children. Farming this part of Texas in the 1800s was hard work. The soil was unforgiving, and the summers were brutal. And the isolation made it possible, maybe even probable, for trouble to find a family, and their fate wouldn't be known for days, maybe weeks. This version says the husband set fire to their home, and his whole family was inside. The children didn't make it out, the wife did, and the fire marked her in ways that never healed correctly. Her fingers burned down to dark fused stumps resembling hooves, legend says. The skin of her face scorched and then healed erroneously, pulling and elongating until the shape of it no longer resembled a human. The skin drooped and bagged in places, pulled tight in others, which gave her jaw and skull a stretched appearance that people who encountered her could not find words for, except to say she looked like a donkey. As an aside, the accounts don't tell us how she survived. They don't tell us who, if anyone, found her afterward. They only tell us that, eventually, she was at the water, and that she didn't leave the area. In the second version, the fire wasn't the husband's doing. The son of a wealthy San Antonio family came onto or near the property. He approached the family's donkey incorrectly, and the animal bit him. The young man went home furious and told his father. His father had the kind of power that meant consequences landed on other people. That night, someone returned to the property with a torch. The wife was badly burned, and her children, who were still inside, died in the fire. In those days, no court was going to help a frontier woman against a wealthy San Antonio family. So, she went to the creek, to the crossing, and into the forest around it. A third account says she never burned at all. In this version, she was thrown from the Dolores Applewhite crossing into the water below, her donkey drowned alongside her. And the figure that people encounter near that bridge that doesn't move quite like a woman and doesn't look quite like one, either is the record of that drowning. Two lives taken together, violently, and bound together in whatever came after. All three versions end in the same body of water with the same woman. A woman who was wronged in a way that had no remedy. And when the bridge went up in 1917, right where that ancient crossing had always been, the donkey lady was already there, waiting. Hey podcast listeners, Marianne Pohl here. Something is calling people into the water off the coast of Alaska. They walk in, they don't come back. That's where my brand new Raven's Cove novel, The Tide Weaver, begins, and I promise it only gets darker from there. I'm America's Lady of Supernatural Thrillers, and The Tide Weaver is book 6 in the Raven's Cove series. This series takes you from wild Alaskan coastlines to the shadowy swamps of East Texas. You'll encounter ancient curses, headless riders, and evil that has no intention of staying buried. Grab The Tide Weaver now, or start with book 1, Raven's Cove, available at Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and wherever good books are sold. Back to the show. That brings us to what people have actually seen and found at that bridge, and how people say they performed a certain ceremony to encounter the entity known as the Donkey Lady. The ritual is simple. You drive out to the Donkey Lady Bridge after dark, you park, you honk your horn 3 times. Then you wait. Some people wait a long time and go home with nothing but an unsettled feeling, and the memory of how dark it gets out there when the tree line closes in around you. But others don't wait long at all. The first thing witnesses describe is the sound. A wailing which is not quite human, not quite animal. Something that sits between the two and registers in the body before the brain has named it. Underneath the wailing are hoofbeats. Fast, close, and not coming from a distance. They seem to be coming from the tree line right beside you and moving toward the car. Then the Donkey Lady appears. Witnesses who have come face to face with her describe a figure with elongated and burned face that looks like a donkey screaming at them through the car window. She presses her fused, dark stumps against the glass. They say the face is not a costume or a mask. It is a face that was a woman's face and is now something else, and it is right there on the other side of the window, looking in. Witnesses consistently describe the skin as having a drooping, melted quality, not flesh as it was made, but flesh as fire remade it. The skull elongated, the jaw stretched. The eyes set wrong in a way that the brain refuses to file neatly. Several accounts describe her as screaming without stopping. It's a sound that is both a woman's voice and something beneath it that isn't a human's voice. Those who manage to drive away find evidence in the morning. Hoof, like indentations pressed into the hood of the car. The kind of mark left by weight and impact, as if something heavy landed there and bore down. Some accounts describe the dents as following a pattern across the hood, like the stride of something that crossed the car from one side to the other. Hoof tracks have also been found pressed into the mud beneath the bridge itself, in the soft ground along the creek bank, where nothing domesticated should have been walking in the night. People who have gone back in daylight to look at those tracks report that they are not the tracks of a shod horse. They are splayed. The tracks of something that is not entirely one animal and not entirely another. One of the most detailed accounts on record comes from 1987. 4 young people drove out to the Donkey Lady Bridge together late at night. The driver was John, and the 3 girls were named Lisa, Terry, and Jill. They honked. They waited 15 minutes and saw nothing. So, they decided to go into the woods and look for themselves. John reported that deep in the trees, he got the feeling they were being watched. He stopped, told everyone to be quiet. When he looked around, he saw what appeared to be 2 eyes in the darkness, staring back at them, not moving, just watching. He ran. The girls were already at the car, screaming. As he was trying to insert the key into the ignition, he heard what he described as the sound of something running hard toward them. He got the car started, threw it into gear, and floored it. A figure appeared directly in the road in front of them. He hit it. It struck the hood, rolled over the car's roof, and landed behind them. Looking in the rearview mirror, John said the figure got up, and it pursued them down the road. John showed up at his friend's house that night as the sole occupant of the vehicle. The girls did not come back. When his friends pressed him to explain, he told them what had happened and said he would never return to that bridge. When they went out later that night to look at the car, the damage to the hood was there consistent with an impact from above. Dents in the metal. Something had struck it. The girls made their own way home separately that night. John's account of what happened in those woods has circulated in San Antonio ever since. What I keep coming back to in that account is not the chase or the impact. It's the eyes. 2 points of light in the dark tree line, unmoving, trained on 4 people who had walked into the woods looking for something they didn't fully believe in. Just watching, waiting for them to come far enough in. Scholars of folklore have noted that the Donkey Lady belongs to a much older tradition. She is related to La Llorona, the weeping woman of Latin American legend, a mother who lost her children and haunts waterways, whose wail has been heard across centuries and cultures. If you grew up in South Texas, you know La Llorona before you know much else. She is the reason children don't go near the river after dark. The stories serve as warnings, yes, but they also serve as memory. They carry the record of real women, real losses, and the particular kind of grief that comes when justice was never going to arrive. The Donkey Lady fits that tradition precisely. The waterway, the children, the wailing, the refusal to leave. She is not a ghost in the way we typically use that word. She is not a transparent figure drifting through hallways. She is something more physical than that. She lands on hoods. She leaves prints in mud. She looks through windows. She pursues cars down roads. Whatever she is, she has weight. She has presence. She has not faded the way legends typically do when they have no basis in reality. She has also had a phone number at various times. It is said that a San Antonio performance artist set up a hotline during one October, releasing nightly recordings presented as the Donkey Lady's voice. The Donkey Lady's observations about the city, and what she had watched San Antonio become. Children in earlier decades reportedly called a different hotline from their home phones just to hear the static and the sounds on the line. You don't build a phone line for a story you've forgotten. The Donkey Lady Bridge is gated off now. The city closed it to nighttime visitors. It hasn't stopped the accounts. People walk the Madonna River Trail to get close to the river. They still hear things out there. People report the wailing, the hoofbeats, the sound of something moving through the tree line after dark. They still come back with descriptions that match what witnesses reported 20, 30, or 50 years before them, like the eyes in the tree line that don't blink and don't look away. Whatever happened on the banks of Elm Creek, whenever it happened, whoever bears the blame, it is easy to believe that a woman was destroyed there, that her children were taken, and she was left with nothing resembling the life she had, and no one with the power to help her did. If we are made of something that persists beyond the body, and I believe we are, then what that becomes when it leaves the body under those conditions is a question worth sitting with. The Donkey Lady Bridge is still there, still gated, still standing over Elm Creek on the south side of San Antonio, in a city that despite everything has never been able to let her go.
The supernatural world is closer than we think. Sometimes it chills us. Sometimes it reminds us we were never alone. Two worlds, every single day. And the greatest power against the darkness has always been the light. Stay curious, stay faithful, and never mistake the darkness for the whole story. Thanks for listening. Until next time, may the sun always be on your face, the wind at your back, and the good Lord walk beside you.